Watch right now in the Front News Project. Unique footage. HIMARS strikes Russian soldiers. Report from the front line. Explosions in Chechnya hit the barracks of the Special Regiment of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. The battle for Kupiansk. The enemy engages in meat grinder assaults. The armed forces of Ukraine give the invaders a hard time. Fiery, intense, and blazing footage from the front lines. Watch right now. The bloody war continues. A war that Vladimir Putin and his gang unleashed on Ukrainian soil. The heroic resistance of the Ukrainian armed forces and the entire Ukrainian people in the struggle for their freedom continues. Welcome, this is Front News. I'm Vladimir Timoshenko. In the next 30 minutes, you will hear the truth about the war, which our journalists extract from the hottest combat zones. Well then?
Ready? Then we begin.
And we start right away with exclusive material. Our colleague from the television news service, Oksana Rodionova, was the first journalist to receive permission to visit the cabin of the legendary HIMARS. For those who don't know, the American multiple launch rocket system. Next, not only to see the HIMARS with your own eyes, but also to go on a combat mission. And also to communicate with those Ukrainian defenders who day by day scorch the ground under the occupiers' feet. We will see all the details right now.
This is ours. Only we were allowed it. This is HIMARS, and it operates on high-priority targets.
I do not count rockets. My job is to conduct missile strikes.
Exclusively, Ukrainian rocket troops share their experience.
And after us, only silence.
About the combat routine of the missile troops. The first use of HIMARS in the year 22 and the specifics of work in the year 24. Perfect hit. And overall, the role of HIMARS in destroying the logistics and military equipment of the occupiers will be told to us by commanders who currently have more combat experience than their NATO counterparts. My name is Oksana Rodionova. Let's go. They rarely appear on screen, but are extremely effective and precise. Gods of war, missile troops, Ukrainian armed forces. The weapons of these guys, which we will tell you about, cause despair and hysteria in the enemy from the first day of their operation. It's about hamsters. That's what they call the missile operators who work with the most expensive weaponry of the Ukrainian armed forces. Highly mobile artillery rocket systems, HIMARS, and ATACMS missiles. HIMARS have been working with us for already 3 years, but during this time, civilian journalists have never been tasked with combat work. The HIMARS crew consists of 3 people: a commander, a gunner, and a driver. Phoenix was both the commander and the gunner. Currently, he oversees several vehicles at once. He joined the army as an ordinary soldier. Before the war, he was a topo geodest. Phoenix refuses to wear a balaclava.
No, I am on my land. I have nothing to fear.
But we decided to hide his face. After all, invaders hunt people like Phoenix 24/7. If you believe their sources, they immediately award a hero star for a destroyed HIMARS in Russia. One system is $4 million. With the ATACMS missile, $6 million. What is equally important is a trained crew. Phoenix has over 200 perfect hits.
Понтонні переправи.
Pontoon crossings, more than one convoy, more than one warehouse, buildings with more than one headquarters.
He started his service in 2015 at Point U. This is a missile complex developed back in the 1970s with a ballistic missile. At the beginning of the full-scale invasion, it was our only long arm. It could reach targets over 120 kilometers away. She defended Kyiv, sunk Russian large landing ships, reclaimed Chornobaivka, and destroyed Russian columns moving from all directions.
Да, на початку
Yes,
війни, коли
at the beginning of the war, when we didn't have HIMARS, it was a formidable weapon. At the start of the full-scale invasion, it helped us a lot. At the beginning of the ITO, it helped a lot too. But the second one, we just didn't have.
At the moment, Phoenix and its counterparts are reaching enemy targets with the latest Western precision weapons.
ніхто не знав,
No
що
one knew that HIMARS might come to us, but it did. It is excellent equipment. Not only is it mobile, but it also has fast loading and quick readiness for combat.
приведення її до бойової готовності.
Here, the highest level of responsibility for a shot is noted by the commander with the sweet call sign, Kvitoshka, who before mobilization was
An ordinary bus
the
driver.
war forced the switch from a bus to a missile system.
We are in a combat vehicle that launches missiles. Not even bullets, not even shells, but missiles.
In such a situation, the most important thing is that
Calmness, a clear task setting and confidence in the team. Confidence in the car. No sudden movements and task execution.
Kvitochek has many successfully completed missions to his credit. He accurately targets the enemy's most vulnerable spots.
There were different conditions, both night and day, when it was very necessary and consecutively.
The operation you are most proud of.
Agricultural machine. There was a pontoon next to it. There was a clear gathering. It was clearly visible. The machine was expensive. They hit them on the first try. The enemy force was neutralized.
From the outside, the agricultural vehicle resembles the MLR's Grad, but it is a rare machine for remote mining. It fires rocket projectiles that create minefields 15 kilometers away from it. A single system can deploy 600 mines. But what remains of the equipment showcased at the parade in Moscow is only
Egorok. The car detonated on its own, started exploding by itself, and there was something to see.
It operates with rockets of various range types.
A missile strike was carried out from 264 kilometers.
And what kind of operation
I
was
cannot
it?
say that.
The details of most of their operations are prohibited from being disclosed. The first official use of Toka-M missiles in October 2023 was confirmed by the commander-in-chief. Then our missile forces struck the occupied airfields in Luhansk and Berdyansk, 185 kilometers from the front line. The manufacturer of this advanced equipment is known from open sources. The M142 HIMARS can be loaded with unguided M26 projectiles with a maximum range of 15 kilometers and ATAK-MS. And even the newest super-smart American high-precision strike missile, which can reach targets at 500 kilometers. How close did you have to get to the line of engagement?
1.5 kilometers.
But that is very risky.
But the people in the trench are taking less risk than I am.
The aim of the guys is impressive.
Була
There
ціль,
was a target, there was a headquarters. Judging by the video, the missile flew right into the windows. If there was a task to destroy the enemy bridge in a specific area, they hesitated with the point. But HIMARS arrived and precisely 4 rockets hit the bridge directly.
The hobbits learned to work with moving targets,
Everything is under control, they say so.
which shocked Western experts.
нам
They
розказали,
told us, yes, we work purely on stationary targets. Well, fine, work on that. We've learned to work on moving targets now. We've learned to hit what they don't hit. That's all, we'll wrap it up. I have work.
How HIMARS operates in real war conditions during an actual combat mission later in our program. And right now, an analysis of the operational situation on the much-suffering Pokrovsky front line. The enemy is brutalizing here as well. On the Pokrovsk direction, the enemy conducted 30 assault actions in the areas of the settlements of Mirolubovka, Luk, Lesov. Ukrainian defense forces are holding back the onslaught of the Russian Federation troops and have repelled 24 attacks. 6 battles are still ongoing. Well, and now, as promised earlier, unique footage. How the HIMARS operate in real war conditions. In reality, this is very dangerous. Actions need to be as swift as possible because the enemy can launch their Iskander at any moment. But you know, the boastful and self-satisfied tales from Russian propaganda about dozens of destroyed HIMARS are all outright nonsense. But enough words. Let's get straight to the point. In exclusive from TSN weekly correspondent Oksana Rodionova right now on our air.
They launched themselves like a rocket instantly. Our long arm. And only we were allowed. Is working on extremely important targets. Powerful, full of adrenaline and terrifying. The launch site instantly turns into a deadly location. In response, an enemy Iskander could arrive here in mere minutes. The HIMARS crew and our film crew must disappear from the launch site as quickly as possible.
When we finished, the rep informed us that ballistics were targeting us. You understand, we need to run away very quickly.
Тому ми не можемо так
Therefore, we cannot take such risks. We have to move around. We have to disguise ourselves. We have to maneuver, change our location.
і змінювати своє місце розташування.
Numerous reports by Russians about dozens of destroyed HIMARS are called outright lies.
Так, я вже
Yes,
бачив.
I already saw the RS-400 when I covered them with the HIMARS. The drone even recorded the missile launches, and then the drone recorded the detonation of the S-400 ammunition. Their launches are successful. Well, successful in quotes.
Пуски вдалі в них, ну так, в кавичках вдалі.
Friends, now it's time to unpack the HIMARS. We are now in the cabin, and Marek will tell us how everything is arranged inside.
The car is made for people, so to speak, with comfort. You can adjust the steering wheel to what's convenient for you. These cars are quite easy and simple to handle. They start up fairly quickly. One button, another button, one more, and off you go.
Інша кнопка. Ще одна. І поїхали.
Automatic transmission.
Коробка передач.
Completely automatic.
Повністю автоматична.
Fully automatic, everything on buttons, so no need to pull any levers. If I need to switch to four-wheel drive, I stop, press a button, and go. Air conditioning, light power steering, electronic gas pedal. This is a capsule cab. It is fully armored.
The main rule, says Marek, is to work quickly.
They said it would be ready in 10 minutes, but we were already in position in 4 minutes.
Move lightning fast.
In
Фактично,
fact, it can go 105 to 107. It all depends on the situation.
ситуації.
And to
Dying
remain
incognito.
there day and night.
Ми працюємо по камері.
We are working with the night vision camera when rep reports there's a bird above us, and we are trying to camouflage the car.
Намагаємося замаскувати машину.
Why a hamster?
Розумієте?
You see, a hamster always has extra food stored in its cheek. In the same way, there are always spare missiles in a
У нас
HIMARS.
ракети є.
To our question about whether the guys from HIMARS would switch to the Ukrainian system once it appears. Volodymyr Zelensky announced further tests of Ukrainian missiles. The guys respond.
Так, я з радістю.
Yes, yes. I would gladly switch to this, but I would combine it, keeping both HIMARS and ours. In the time I've used this system, I've already had more combat work than all the instructors who trained me during the entire period they've used them.
There's plenty of work, say the soldiers. The main thing is to ensure that the hamsters don't run out of rockets and that victory comes as quickly as possible.
І ми розуміємо, для чого ми
To
тут.
understand why we are obligated to be here. Who, if not us, just to achieve victory, go home, get on our bus, and continue to transport people.
Свій автобус і далі возити людей.
Що мене тримає?
What keeps me going? My land, my Ukraine, my brothers. That's what keeps me going. The inner voice says no. You have to. You have to. It hurts, so take a pill. We keep working.
Well, now we are moving to the Kurakov direction of the front. Let's be honest, this is another sacred target for Putin and his pack. Consequently, the situation here is extremely tense. In the Kurakovsky direction, the invaders attacked 37 times near Solntsevka off the old Terny of Kura. Kurakovo, Dalnego, and Uspenovka. 24 attempts by the occupiers to advance have already been repelled. The fighting continues. Meanwhile, enemy aviation struck the settlements of Bohatyr and Ulakli, dropping 4 guided aerial bombs. But, as you understand, it was burning and blazing during the week on the territory of the Russian Federation itself. For example, drones of the armed forces of Ukraine struck a Russian oil depot in Bryansk region of the Russian Federation. A fire started there, and in Taganrog, an aircraft repair plant came under fire. Arrivals were also recorded in Grozny. This is so that Putin's crony Kadyrov doesn't relax. But that's not all the bad news for Putin and his generals. Conscripts of the Russian Federation are openly refusing to go on local assaults in the Kherson region. Moreover, President Zelensky announced the successful tests of the new Ruta missile. More details on all these topics right now in our report.
Russia shuddered from the explosions. In Taganrog, there are arrivals and the sounds of a siren.
And our bomb shelter is in the house.
Under lock. The castle is closed. You couldn't get in anywhere. It's the same in the neighboring house. All the bomb shelters are closed. Here we are, wandering around, 5 in the morning.
Alarms are going off.
The fight hasn't started yet, but we have nothing else to do. We're going home.
As a result of the attack, an industrial enterprise was damaged and 14 vehicles burned at the aviation plant. A series of explosions also occurred in Bryansk.
Burning and burning.
Ukrainian defense forces struck the Bryansk oil depot. A large-scale fire broke out at the site of impact.
Whoa! You good!
This is one of the oil depots actively used to supply the enemy's occupying army.
The main function of this loading point is the reception, storage, and distribution of diesel fuel for tank trucks and rail transport. And accordingly, the successful nature of the drone attacks by the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense is a reduction in the logistical capabilities of the Russian occupation army.
Meanwhile, in Croatia, at least while in Ukraine, a missile named Ruta was successfully tested. This was announced by Volodymyr Zelensky, but no details were disclosed. It is only known that the missile can reach a speed of 500 to 800 kilometers per hour.
It has a compact turbojet engine, and this drone looks like a traditional cruise missile. And it can be used for several functional purposes. It can be used as a strike, reconnaissance, or from the or simply as a target for training.
Meanwhile, the Belarusian dictator Lukashenko is once again threatening with nuclear weapons. He stated that tactical nuclear warheads from Russia have already been brought into the country and threatened to use them against those who cross the state border.
I brought nuclear warheads here, several dozen, just so you know.
Lukashenko did not forget about the super new Oreshnik missile.
We are now thinking about where, in which areas to place these weapons. I have preserved the sites for deploying strategic nuclear missiles.
Lukashenko is trying to play in unison with the Russian dictator at the moment of raising military political stakes. Hazelnut in Ukrainian classification is cedar. In Ukrainian classification, hazel is cedar. Therefore, there is not the slightest reason to talk about their scaling production and especially deployment on the territory of the Republic of Belarus.
But the Russian occupiers do not want to storm the Kherson region. Among the invaders, the number of sabotage cases is growing.
Information appeared on accordingly. In the background, messages in Russian Ukrainian about opportunities. The conduct of a large-scale landing operation by Russian occupying troops. Now, the width of the Dnieper in this area is about 1 kilometer, and accordingly, the right bank of the Dnieper is controlled by the armed forces of Ukraine. It is geographically higher than the left one. and the tactical and technical characteristics of Western weaponry which are available to the Ukrainian defense forces surpass their Russian counterparts by 1.5 to 2 times. This negates the possibility of an effective nature of the landing operation.
Essentially, for Russian, it's a one-way ticket, as not every occupier can, in Gogol's fashion, make it to the middle of the Dnieper. The fighting continues in various areas, including in Kursk. According to propagandists, the aggressor country's army has supposedly advanced in Yuzhnoye Plekovo.
Currently, there is objective control data about the presence of advanced units of Russian evacuation forces in this locality. In addition, fighting is taking place in the area of Malaya Lakhna and Zeleny Shliak, but there is no basis to talk about a breakthrough in the Ukrainian defense at this time.
Now it is time to analyze the operational situation on the Kharkiv and Kupiansk fronts. The Russian world continues to destroy, kill, and burn here as well. On the Kharkiv direction, the enemy attacked our unit's positions 4 times in the areas of Vovchansk, Hliboki, and Staritsia. Currently, 1 battle is ongoing. Also, the enemy carried out airstrikes with Kaabis on Liptsi, Vysoka Yaruga, and Haptivka. On the Kupiansk direction, since the beginning of the day, the Russian aggressors have been conducting offensive actions near Sinkivka, Zarizove, and Zakidne. 3 clashes are still ongoing. What else is important to note? This week, the Ukrainian army advanced in the Kupiansk area. The 10th Mountain Assault Brigade, Edelweiss, reclaimed positions from the enemy near the settlement of Novomlinsk. As a result of a complex operation, the threat of encirclement for Kupiansk was weakened. Perhaps not the biggest, but definitely a very timely motivational tactic. Correspondent SN Andrei Tsaprienko has returned, and his report is coming up for you right now.
Capturing Kupiansk is the main objective of the occupiers.
In Kharkiv region, here shells and bombs fall daily, and no one counts the arrival of drones anymore. FPV reached the city center, so in Kupiansk, these anti-drone nets hang in the streets. Maybe it will get tangled. The city is securely protected by the Oskol River, but at the end of November, the weather and military fortune were on the enemy's side. Under the cover of fog, enemy assault groups crossed the Oskol by boat near the village of Novomlinsk and occupied the Ukrainian positions. Why the trenches were empty still needs to be determined. Dimitro, how far are they from us?
If you take in a straight line from the center of Kupiansk, where we are currently, it is up to 12 kilometers.
The enemy stronghold north of Kupiansk meant that they would try to take the strategically important city, so the Russians needed to be ousted immediately. The 8th Battalion of the Edelweiss Brigade moved out to save the city. The Ukrainian mountain assault troops understand they will have to oust a stubborn and experienced enemy.
No, they are very ready for battle. I'll tell you right away, they have a little preparation.
Quickly and unexpectedly, mountain assault troops in armored vehicles approached the trenches that needed to be recaptured.
The enemy did not surrender.
I say surrender. He says, Kokos, what do you want? In fear, you think, well, we have to take this trench.
A few minutes later, the Edelweiss completely cleared the fortified area, but this was only the beginning.
Our commander gets in touch and says that 10 to 15 infantry soldiers are approaching us.
The Russian infantry went to reclaim the lost positions. The Edelweiss had to endure several hours of pure hell.
That fight was, well, for about 3 hours everything was flying, FPV mortar.
But they held out, and the blue and yellow colors returned to Novomlinsk.
We are soldiers of the 1st Mountain Assault Company, of the 8th Separate Mountain Assault Battalion, of the 10th Separate Mountain Assault Brigade, and we have ceremoniously taken the settlement of Novomlinsk and raised the flag. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Raise the flag. Show it.
The liberation of Novomlinsk does not mean that the threat to Kupiansk has completely disappeared. The plan to capture the city is still on the table for Russian strategists. North of Kupiansk, the enemy has sacrificed a tremendous number of soldiers. they made their way to the village of Krylyakivka.
Out of 50 units of equipment, the enemy lost 48, but due to this massiveness, the enemy still managed to occupy a certain number of positions. After this, the enemy deployed 20 units of equipment, exactly according to the same principle and scenario, but out of 20 units, 18 were destroyed. In the next wave, 16 units of equipment were used, if memory serves, out of which 14 were destroyed by the defense forces, and the enemy during the last wave managed to enter the settlement of Krylyakivka and deploy their assault infantry.
We are moving closer to the enemy along with the Bende Vampire Drone Yanu Dataya drone operators. The Sea Phoenix unit border guards are fighting as part of the Ukrainian group that has currently stalled the Russian movement in the Kruglianovka area. But the enemy does not stop. While we were on our way to the position, we counted 7 cap strikes. Thanks to such drones, it is possible to halt the Russian assaults in the Kupiansk area. Now this vampire is preparing to fly to where the Russians attempted to take Ukrainian positions. Vampire is certainly not all that, but several groups of vampires operating in a carousel mode one after another use compact bombs to destroy an entire fortified enemy area.
There are different types of ammunition. This is SMA 400. It is both fragmentary and high explosive fragmentary.
How many armored targets have you destroyed?
Well, if we count the tanks, then more than 10. If it's armored vehicles, then about 20. With just one shell, he took down 6 people. Well, 6 Russians. So yes, we can indeed stop direct assaults.
That's why these 3 guys are a priority target for the enemy, and we felt it ourselves as soon as the combat work started. We were under fire.
Something hit us. Something just hit us. Something very good. One moment. Because we count a little. It hit very hard. It's good that I was going inside. Probably if I had been outside, I wouldn't be here anymore.
It hit very accurately right near the entrance to the dugout.
They wanted to kill us, but again, they didn't.
It seemed the position has been discovered. So the drone operators will likely have to find another one. But completely cancelling flights is not an option for them, because their work directly affects whether the Ukrainian infantry holds its positions and whether the blue and yellow flags remain on the banks of the Oskil.
Now let's analyze the situation in the Kramatorsk and Toretsk directions of the front in detail. The situation here is traditionally strained to the limit. On the Kramatorsk direction, Ukrainian defenders repelled 6 attempts by the occupiers to advance near Chasiv Yar and towards Stupachki. On the Toretsk direction, the occupiers tried twice to displace our units from their positions in the Toretsk area. Currently, one battle is ongoing. Enemy aircraft also dropped a guided aerial bomb on Krimske. And now about the actual genocide of the Ukrainian people by terrorist Putin's Russia. The number of deaths has increased to 11 as a result of a missile attack on Zaporizhzhia on December 10th. A building of a private clinic and a nearby cafe were destroyed. The TSN correspondent Kira Oves visited the site of the bloody events. Her chilling report follows.
160 rescuers and 50 pieces of equipment have been clearing the debris at the site of the Russian missile attack for nearly a day. Search and rescue operations are still ongoing here, as there may be people under the ruins. Among the injured is a 5-year-old child. Medical assistance was provided to him on the spot. It is known that 5 people were injured as a result of the Russian strike, and they are still in the city's hospitals. Among them, 1 person is in serious condition.
6 patients were hospitalized. Unfortunately, a 37-year-old woman with an open traumatic brain injury died despite all the efforts of our staff. 5 patients remain in our hospital. 1 patient is in intensive care. His condition is stable but serious.
The number of victims, unfortunately, is increasing. Rescuers are pulling the deceased from the rubble. Also, the day before, after 7 hours of searching, rescuers managed to pull 2 victims out from the ruins. They were able to call the emergency services and report their location. Rescuers used special equipment to lift the structures and got the women out alive. They lit up the scene all night to conduct the work effectively. Heavy machinery was used to clear the debris. Currently, the work continues. There may still be people under the rubble. A canine unit from the city of Romny, which is currently in Zaporizhia, was involved. And with the help of dogs, they managed to find living people. A private clinic found itself at the epicenter of the missile explosion. At the time of the strike, there could have been about 24 people inside. These are the staff and patients. Nina works as a security guard next to the clinic in a neighboring building. She says she only managed to turn on the alarm when the explosion occurred. People, of course, could not possibly have made it in time.
Taking cover. The siren went off at 3 o'clock and immediately there was an explosion, terrifying, powerful. Everything was covered in dust. Everyone was running.
So you were here all night, right? Watching the rescuers work?
Yes, I saw it. I saw them bringing down Vera, the director's wife, and the accountant. I saw it.
Near the epicenter of the strike, there is a busy pedestrian alley, a coffee shop, and an educational institution. People are bringing candles and flowers to the site of the tragedy in memory of their colleagues and loved ones. Today in Zaporizhia, a day of mourning has been declared for those who died as a result of Russian terror.
That's all for today, but very soon on Front News, you'll see new, unique materials from our journalists and from the hottest war zones gathered so that you know the truth. This was Vladimir Timoshenko with you. Take care of yourself and your loved ones.